safety cars, red flags, cars exploding, ballsy overtakes, and a first-time podium winner, Mugello gave us a little bit of everything. All the carnage. Let's jump the start. Welcome back, everybody, to the Jump the Start podcast. No, this is not Wellington. Today, I'm sitting here with one of my closest friends, Ruben. Say hi.
Hello, people.
Wellington could not be with us here today. Hopefully, he'll be back with us next week. But luckily, this week, Ruben, we have a crazy race to talk about.
Yes, sir.
It's basically what I call the first annual Mugello Monster Truck Rally.
Truck rally.
With everything that went on at this race, and we'll get to that. But before we get to anything, I want to do the shameless plug and listen to us on your favorite podcast platform, which is Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, TuneIn, iHeart Radio. And also, we're very active on social media, so check us out on Instagram or Twitter at Jump the Start F1.
And mention if we missed something.
Yeah, man, oh man, what a race! What did you think of that Tuscan Grand Prix? Did you like it? Did you not like it? I saw on social media somebody say that it was the craziest, most boring race that they ever saw.
I agree with that.
Really?
Yeah, I agree with that. The race itself was super boring, but the action that happened throughout the race, that was off the hook. Come on, when was the last time we had 2 red flags?
Yeah, that's the whole thing. I tend to look at these things not as not in parts, but as an entirety. And I think as a whole, I think it was an entertaining race, considering that we had 3 restarts, actually.
3 restarts, yeah.
Was it 4? Because the first one, you had
we had the safety car, and then the 2 red flags.
And the 2 red flags. So it was like 4 starts.
Because the beginning of the race was a start.
3 races in one. It was awesome. I thought it was great. I was thoroughly entertained, considering that we wake up so early in the morning to watch these races.
I on that aspect, I also have to agree with you. You know, it's just I'm most of the time my point is always cut in the middle because I'm an F1 fan first at heart. So regardless of whatever type of race is brought to us, I'll take it. Could be a boring race, I'm still gonna watch it because I'm an F1 fan.
Right. It
could be a super packed, back and forth action and stuff like that. And yes, I'm gonna get emotional in the middle of the race, but I'm still gonna take the race because I'm a F1 fan of the technology, everything the cars have to bring. I'm a fan of. I like the package of the whole thing. I just don't. Obviously, I'm a Mercedes, fan right now, but as a package, I'm a F1 first because tomorrow Mercedes could get out.
We love seeing these cars go around the track racing each other, especially if we could get good racing. Which I think we didn't get great racing. I wouldn't say it was great racing, but we did get to see more overtakes than what we expected. Yeah, there was a lot more. We didn't think that it would be so many overtakes.
And some of the people that were actually doing the overtaking surprised me as well.
There you go. And so, and we'll go over the race now before we even get into what you obviously know what we think so far. But obviously Lewis Hamilton won the race. Was
that surprising?
No, the podium wasn't surprising. We have Lewis Hamilton first, Bottas second, and there was one surprise. Wait.
Not surprised.
Alex Albon got his first podium, ladies
Finally.
and gentlemen. Finally.
And thank God.
And that was because Lewis Hamilton was running up front. He couldn't run into him.
Exactly. Unless he was about to lap him, but it was impossible here.
Followed by Daniel Ricciardo in 4th and Sergio Perez in 5th.
The Pink Panther.
So let's go from the beginning of the race. We get the normal standing start. We get through the first corner, the second corner, and Max is bolting it. Max had a great start.
A great jump, you mean?
A great jump.
Bottas too.
but he didn't jump the start.
No, he did not jump the start. Bottas too. Bottas
had a great-
finally has a
actually,
great start.
He has a great start. He overtook Lewis Hamilton. So you have Bottas in the lead. You have right behind him you have Hamilton, and right behind him was Max, and all of a sudden
He's nowhere.
he stops. He just stops and
just keeps falling
he
back.
just keeps falling back. It looks like his engine cut out. I guess they keep having those electrical problems. That same thing that happened to him last race. I don't know what's going on.
I like it. I like the radio. I got no power.
Oh yeah, he sounded like he was in desperation. And so he drops back, and this causes basically a pileup where
Throughout the midfield.
So everybody has to brake. You have Gasly, who got squeezed in by, I think it was Kimi, and then Grosjean.
Was it Grosjean?
Yeah, it was Grosjean. It was Grosjean, because I remember Grosjean had...
It's funny how he got squeezed in by these two cars, and it was only Gasly that got problems. Kimi and Grosjean walked away like nothing. I mean, they not like nothing, but they still were able to keep going with the race.
Dude, if you see Kimi's onboard,
Exactly.
it looked like his car was about to be destroyed, and he was the only one that kept going. I think he finished the race. And
He did finish the race.
Grosjean. Well, and we'll get to how crazy that is that they both wind up finishing the race because they played integral parts on everything on this melee that happened throughout this entire race. So Gasly gets squeezed in by Kimi and by Grosjean, and Sainz winds up spinning also, but he stays in the race. But this particular...
But that was in the front, though. It was further front ahead. That Sainz spun.
It was all in the back. It was all...
Oh, no. Like, the incident with Gasly and then was behind Sainz, because Sainz spun out because Stroll tapped him.
Oh, my Lord. What?
So that was in front. The melee that happened between Gasly, Grosjean, Raikkonen, and stuff like that, that was further back, because that's how much back Max fell. Because remember, that melee happened because of so slow down Max was bringing down.
I thought that was probably one of like the craziest sequences to happen so far until we got to later.
Until later in the race.
Yeah, so that crash takes out Max and takes out Gasly. So we have to do a rolling start basically.
Because behind the safety car comes out.
Yeah, this is the first lap, so it takes about like 5 or 6 laps in order for them to clear the track and everything. And then we get to the monster truck rally part.
Yes.
So this track is different from any other track because it has a very long straight. Right? So usually what happens is that and especially if you were watching qualifying, I don't know if you noticed, and when we usually watch qualifying, once they get up through that last corner,
the start finish is right there.
The start finish is right there.
Yeah, and this time around,
This time, you would see these cars literally
almost by the first turn.
It was almost by not even by the first. It was like halfway through the straight.
I think the finish start is like pretty much just a couple of feet before the pit end, the pit exit.
Right.
That's how far down the start finish is on this track.
So while I'm watching qualifying, I'm looking. I'm like, why is it that the timing is taking so long
to start?
But the start finish line was there. So taking that into account.
Or the timing to stop when they're ending the lap. Because that was my thing. Like, are they going to end the lap? Like, the time passed, but what happened?
Right.
But it's because of the same thing, because of the position of the start ending.
Mm-hmm. So taking that into account, we're rounding. They round the corner, and obviously at this point the safety car comes in. Bottas dictates the pace. He's the de facto safety car at this point. So he's taking his time
to warm the tires. He's
trying to get as close to the line to bolt so he can get an advantage on Lewis because he wants to keep his lead. But as the other cars are still, mind you, this is 20 cars, they're rounding the corner, so some cars start accelerating. And before Bottas can even take off
we already have
properly, we have this monster crash.
Yeah.
That happens. And it was super dangerous. When I saw it, I'm like, it looked like an attack. And when I was watching Bottas at the front to see if Lewis Hamilton can overtake him, and then all of a sudden I see this fireball
behind him. Yeah. A bunch of dust just kicks up.
Yeah. What happened there, Ruben?
Okay, so two things in from my point of view that I took from this melee that actually just destroyed like 5 cars. But I did not know prior to this race that it's actually the start finish line that starts, the race again, which kindly it should be that way.
Right.
But in my mind, the times that I've been watching F1, I always thought that people start racing when they pass the line, the safety car line, because most races, pretty much they start from there. Either before the safety car line or they start slowing down. Typical Lewis Hamilton, he does is he bunch ups the pack, like halfway down from him, and then takes off right at the same time that the safety car is coming in. So he just passes at full speed that line. Bottas didn't do it this way. Bottas did it by the book, which is he dictates the pace. If he takes off, then people take off. But if he stays slow, he has all the way to start-finish line to actually speed up.
Right.
So that's why pretty much we bunch up the pack so much coming down the straight, the start-finish line, which is where Bottas never picked up any speed. He just kept weaving, left to right to keep, to warm up the tires. I guess they weren't warm enough yet. Right. So as he was getting closer to the start-finish line is when he actually picks up the pace, which is perfectly by the book. So he did everything fine. Right. Now, in the back...
Some people were blaming him.
Yeah, but now that's what I'll go back to. Now, in the back of the pack, a guy like George Russell somehow slowed down by the turn. So to catch up to the pack, he sped up. But actually, again, because he was catching on to everybody, he slowed down. But people behind him, they all thought they were racing.
They thought they were going.
Because in front of them, they already could see green light. Meanwhile, Bottas has now passed the start-finish line. So he's not even nowhere. But with these cars, to get a tow, you have to pretty much be, most people in their racing, they got to get behind each other. Right. So that's the reason why the other drivers were not able to see what was going on in the pack until it was actually too late. But it started at George Russell. At the beginning, we thought it was Kvyat. We also thought at one point it was K-Mag. No, but the one that started to speed up was George Russell.
So what I saw on the video was, and I saw, and F1 TV actually had a great analysis on this. And I think that's what we saw, that it was George Russell. George Russell had a big gap ahead of him, and he took off, right? So right behind George Russell, and George Russell, if you're looking at these cars from the back, George Russell is off to the right hand.
To the right hand side, yes.
Right? And then a little bit to the left, but behind them you have, I believe it was
K-Mag, I think.
K-Mag.
Oh, Kevin Magnussen.
K-Mag, Latifi, Kevin Magnussen, Latifi, and Antonio Giovinazzi.
Yes.
Right? So
by the way, those three guys were able to slow down. George Russell, K-Mag, and Latifi.
Yeah, what slowed them down was the car in front of them.
No. But what I'm talking about is they were able to slow down.
Yeah.
It was the cars behind them that had nowhere to go now. So Giovinazzi was the first one to get the big clank.
And what happened with Giovinazzi, and I saw this, and this is why I texted you during the race, look at Gio's onboard. So Russell takes off. He brakes. At this point, I think Magnussen thinks he's going. So Magnussen goes. Then he brakes. Then Latifi goes, and then Latifi goes, and he thinks he's racing, and then he notices, okay, I got to brake, but I'm not going to stop in time, so he veers off
to the left. Yes. George Russell veered off to the right.
Yes. At this
K-Mag
point,
is in the middle.
K-Mag is right there. At this point, Giovinazzi's off, but Giovinazzi is just like pedal to the metal, boom, and he has nowhere to go, so he goes right into the back of K-Mag. His car goes flying up into the air.
And right behind him,
behind him is Sainz. And listen, thank God for the halo.
Yeah.
Because it looked like his wheel, it either landed on the halo or right in front of the halo.
Yep. Right at the bar.
Right at the bar.
The upper bar.
And right behind Sainz was Roman Grosjean.
By the way, he did not touch with anybody.
No,
he was able to, I guess, maneuver left, right, or whatever. And
this is what I'm saying. This is what I said.
But he had a perfect picture of everything.
Yeah, this is what I mentioned earlier. I'm still trying to figure out how Kimi and Grosjean
and Vettel as well.
Yeah, were able to finish off the race
because they never sped up as quick as the pack that crashed. Mm-hmm. They were still behind, so I'm guessing obviously we have to look further into the onboards and stuff like that. I'm guessing Grosjean, Kimi, and Vettel, especially Kimi and Vettel, they were still in the turn. Yeah. So they were not at any time. They were never at full speed, because by the time they actually finished the turn, the crash is already happening pretty much in front of them.
Yes.
So when they see that, they actually manage to slow down. Even Kimi on the I was watching on YouTube earlier the top 10 from the weekend with the Raiders and stuff like that. Even Kimi said, he's like, I don't know what happened up front, but the guys in the back thought we were racing already and we weren't. So he knew they weren't racing yet.
Interesting. We'll link that in the show.
Yeah. So Kimi was, further behind, and he actually was able to get through without throw the millie, and you could see his tires that they pick up a couple of debris, and when he speeds up, same thing with Beto, because Beto right away, Beto already knew there was going to be a red flag again, and hey, please just get the get the blankets ready and blah 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 blah.
I don't think there's any doubt that there was going to be a red flag at that point, especially you're on the finish straight. You have, I think, 3 or 4. I think it was 4 cars. 4 cars. Yeah. It looked like a bomb went off, and
carbon fiber everywhere, like they always say.
I'm torn between this because it's dangerous, so you don't want to see anybody get hurt. But it's also fun for the show.
Of course.
And
first race, we're actual real fans too.
And we have fans here to watch this. I mean, it was absolutely bonkers. Now, just looking at the situation, is there anything you think that F1 or the FIA can do differently at this point? They blamed, I think, a total of like 12 cars.
Yes. I think
it was like everybody got a warning except for the top 3 and the last 3.
Exactly. You see, the last 3 was so far behind.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that I see for future reference, but a lot of people are not going to like what I'm going to say, is that they got to take away that thing with the radios that at the beginning or the first lap or the formation lap, your pit wall cannot help you. If the pit wall was able to help them, I think you see that a lot in NASCAR. When they say green flag, go, 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 we got a green,
Yeah, and spotters in NASCAR too.
Spotters in NASCAR.
They tell them exactly, they'll say, car inside, outside,
exactly.
outside, inside. They do that in NASCAR, and they also have it in IndyCar as well.
So I think that is something we might see in F1 to avoid situations like this. Because
But do you think that it's something that happens so often that they need to do that?
No, that's the thing. But now is, with this week, it show also with Bottas that, hey, just because it's done that way normally doesn't mean it's the normal. I'm still within the rules with what I did. Right. So it's tough. It's tough to judge when on what stance to take. The safest stance to do is for your pit wall to always communicate with you, whether it's to help you, coach you, or whatever it is. But because remember, at one point the pit wall was not able to help you on anything. You were your driver out there; they cannot tell you. Like for example, we
saw that in Hungary with that Haas got penalized because they wanted to change their tires and they communicated to them.
Yes,
and then we saw that AlphaTauri wanted to do the same thing, but just because they didn't communicate.
Exactly. So pretty much Kafia wanted to change his tires also as Haas did, but Kafia, who did change it, I believe.
He did change it, but he said it, but there was no response from the pit wall.
Yes, he was. That's why they didn't pretty much he was just talking to an open mic. Yeah. He was just talking to an open mic. So that in that aspect, why he did not get penalized. But if your pit wall is something, but maybe they could prohibit things that are going to help you that much. But there's always a gray line on everything. That's why I say it's just to be. It has to be in a way that to save the car, save aspects of the race. You're able to tell your people. If your pit wall was able to tell them, when we have a green flag on, hey, slow down because the front is not going yet, or pretty much if the front, if your pit wall is able to tell, and we are a goal. When Bottas actually takes off, right. That's when people will floor it, I think.
Well, on that point, Lewis Hamilton brought this up in the post-race interview.
Oh, Lewis.
Top 3. And Bottas agreed with him that it seems that the FIA is the safety car has a red and green light on top of it to let the drivers know when the safety car is going to come in.
Yeah, normally they turn it off.
No, yeah. Normally they. I don't.
When is the safety car in? They turn because they have yellow, not red. They have it's like a yellowish or orange light on the top.
So that light usually goes off maybe
the lap before.
Whole lap.
Yeah, almost like a 3/4 of a lap or lap before. Yeah, when they turn it off.
In this case, and it happened last week too. They brought it up. In this case, it went off just before they were about to get to the corner.
Yeah, so they have no preparation. They have
no warning.
Yeah.
And they said that they brought it up to the FIA, and the FIA basically told them, no, it's better for the show that way. It's all right.
So pretty much, the FIA just told them, no, the way we have it works, that's staying that way.
And they did that after the race as well.
Gotcha.
Do you think that that's something that could cause?
Yeah, it's a package of everything. I think the FIA definitely have to look into or put like a little perspective on, hey, when the safety car is ending, it has to be at least half lap before.
Yeah, they could be more clear on where the light is going to go. So
like at what point of the actual lap the lights could go off. If not, they have to go out one more lap.
Right.
So that way everybody has a chance to prepare and for the restart. Even though it's a race and you always have to be on edge and on point, I understand that, but it's a safety car. If I start too quick, I'm going to penalize because I'm now going to be called speeding on the safety car, kind of stuff. There's a bunch of regulations, and there's a bunch of gray areas too.
Yeah, I mean, and then F1 teams are great at exposing the gray areas.
Of course,
that's the name of the game.
Exactly.
So, all right, so I mean, that crash was really hard to decipher. It was dangerous.
Up to this point, it's still hard to.
It did make a race that we came into. Thinking that it was gonna be fun for qualifying because it was fun to see these cars go around that track. It's a very flowy track. There's not heavy braking zones, and we didn't think we were gonna get a ton of overtakes, which was quite the opposite. So this incident, as dangerous as it was, did spice up the race going forward.
Yeah, I mean the actual race itself, you compare it to the action that we saw, you could say it's pretty boring, but it's because it's a flowy track, and because of the speed of the track, you pretty much is expected who's going to be overtaking, who's going to be doing this and be doing that because of the speed of the car. Like we saw it with Leclerc.
Yeah, I mean, and then we saw at the restart, we saw at this point your boy Bottas pulled his signature bad start at the restart after the red flag. Lewis Hamilton overtook him, I think, at the second corner.
I think he had a pretty good start. It's just that Hamilton was obviously in second, and Hamilton is Hamilton.
And Hamilton, I think, got the slipstream on him.
Exactly. That's what he got the toe.
Yeah,
right from the get-go. He got us. Because remember, I think you slowed down a little bit in the first corner, but after that, they're all flat out. Like the next three corners or two corners, they're flat out. So Ham was able to pick up the toe real quick on Bottas.
Right.
And he just overtook him like nothing.
So then you have Hamilton overtaking Bottas. So you have Hamilton in first, Bottas second. And we have my boy,
Charlie. At this point, you guys know each other, right?
That's my boy, man. That's my boy. Now, we know each other, but, from afar. Charlie running third in the Ferrari. For their 1,000th
Grand Prix.
1,000th Grand Prix. I can't even say that word.
Me either.
1,000 Grand Prix. And it looked and he was running well in third for quite a while.
How many laps did he do? 2, 3?
No, it was more than that. It had to be like it was more than it was like
I think like 6.
It was like 6, 7, 8 laps. But then his tires started going. On top of that, he has no power.
The Ferrari engine.
Dude, that engine is bad, man.
So yeah, at the Leclerc was running third for a couple of laps, and lap 18, he gets Stroll overtakes him. Yeah. But obviously,
and then Stroll,
poor Ferrari.
I mean, he dropped back. It was, and you can see he would lose a place on the straight because obviously, the only overtaking spot on this track is on that straight going into turn 2. I mean, going into turn 1.
Yes. And
another reason why we got so many of the overtakes that we saw in this race, I saw this analysis on Motorsport, on motorsport.com. There's a good article explaining why we were able to get the amount of overtakes that we got, because the first corner is banked a little bit. Has a
gotcha.
Banking. So what's good about some bank and some camber, what they call camber, is that you can take various lines going through the corner and still be quick. We saw it with Albon later on in the race making these overtakes where he did all his overtakes going through on the outside, which is very hard to do if you have a track that doesn't go off.
I had a question for you. On the main straight, pretty much as the pit ends, there's like a small curve there. Is that considered a turn? It's like a small curve to lead to what is called turn 1.
No, it's not.
It looks that way.
It does look that way.
Right?
It's almost like
Or is it because
it's almost like in Sochi. Like Sochi, you have a little bit of a kink, but and they call that turn 1, but it's not really turn 1 because these cars take.
or it looks that way because the field is the actual racetrack is shrinking because the pit entrance or pit exit is ending.
Yeah.
So that's why it probably might looks that way.
That I don't know
Because when you're coming down the finish start line, whatever, the main straight, most of the overtakes were happening in that little piece of the track.
Right.
Remember, pickup, either people were coming with a toe or people were coming with the DRS open.
Right.
So it's around that
DRS
time.
was super powerful in the
Yes.
race, and so was the undercut. As we saw later.
But at the same time that Stroll overtook Leclerc, Albon also overtake Perez pretty much almost at the same time for 7th place.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much like as Stroll overtakes Leclerc, pretty much like within seconds, Albon is overtaking Perez as well to get up the field.
Wasn't it the same time?
It was pretty much like it was like almost simultaneously.
You got both. I was about to say Force India again. Both racing points getting overtaken at the same
Yep.
at the same time. That was pretty crazy too. So we have, but at this point, we have Ricardo moving up the field.
Yes.
Taking overtakes. We also have Albon, who didn't really get up to. He didn't get off to great starts this entire
And he didn't
race.
qualify well either.
He didn't qualify. No, he qualified 4th. I mean, he was half a second behind Max, but he
For the first
qualified
time.
4th. Yeah, I mean, it's still a big gap, but he still got up to.
So how did he
4th.
how did he
But he
drop?
dropped back because
At the start?
he said it at the end of the race. He said it that they couldn't get off the line well, but during the race they were able to overtake. So the car was quick. And so we have, we're racing, we're going fine. It's become this race at this point where the race that we expect. Mm-hmm. Nobody's really overtaking that much. Everybody's staying in their place. We're watching Ricardo moving up the field.
Yes.
Albon's moving up the field, but we're really watching Ricardo because we want Cyril Abiteboul to get that tattoo.
I wanted to.
And everybody wanted that. And at that point, I see Ricardo. I'm like, I want a shoey, baby. Let's go. I want a shoey.
You were saying that too.
I want a shoey. So Ricardo's going up. He gets past obviously Leclerc. He gets past Perez, and he's nipping at the heels at Stroll.
Yes.
And we're and it seemed like he was faster than Stroll, and it was only a matter of time before he can overtake him. And all of a sudden, we see this poof of smoke on the track.
Well, wait, but before you even say that, it was the radio of Bottas saying that he wanted a different strategy than Hamilton.
Ah, yes, good.
So he wanted a different strategy than Hamilton, but within like a lap later, he starts complaining about vibrations. So they're forced to bring him in. But meanwhile, also, when all of this is happening, Hamilton is also informed that Bottas wants a different strategy than him.
Right.
So actually, they force Bottas in first, or Bottas force himself with the vibrations.
Right.
Comes in, goes on the hards. Neither like a lap later, Hamilton comes in and gets hard tires as well.
Yeah, Bottas can't catch a break.
Bottas can't catch a break for anything.
Yeah, but
It's because Hamilton is in the zone. Hamilton has it. Like it's
but he also but Bottas had every opportunity to beat him this race, and he didn't do it.
Of course, he did not.
What else? What can Bottas do to get ahead of him? Because he's not driving bad this
I know
year.
what he
He's
can do.
very close. In qualifying, he's within.
He's right there.
tenths.
Yeah.
He's right there. What is it? What is
Listen.
wrong with Bottas?
In qualifying, Bottas is getting the max out of that car. Obviously, he's not getting the top max because it's Hamilton driving this car. Like, this is the GOAT, man. This is the greatest of our generation. He's the greatest driver. Right. So we're not going to see a person at that level in a long time. So what else can Bottas get out of this car?
You don't think Max can be that?
Yeah, but Max, as long as he's with Red Bull, he ain't going nowhere. He has to come to a team that's actually going to take him to that level.
Who else on the grid do you think can get?
Leclerc.
So you say Max and Leclerc?
Yeah. You want me to say Stroll? Stroll sucks, dude. Albon doesn't have it. Giovinazzi doesn't have it. Who else? Russell. But Russell shows that he could have pace and that he needs more power behind his engine, or a better car under
He
him.
needs a better car. I think he can. I think,
But it's gonna take him also at least a year to get settled in a car like they say, like the Mercedes car.
I think to a certain point, Russell. I mean, not Russell. I think to a certain point, Max and Leclerc, since they've been on top teams, they've proven that they can take it home.
Yes.
And Leclerc, considering the dog of a car that he has this year, he has proven he has 2 podiums. And at the beginning of the race, before everything went haywire, he was running in third. And I also really slow Ferrari.
And I also say I don't know if it was Spa the race before that he actually surprised me as well of the pace that he's taking out of that car. In qualifying, he's doing awesome compared to the garbage of a car that he has.
And considering how far back Vettel is.
Exactly.
And he's a 4-time world champion.
Exactly. No, obviously, we know that the car is built for Leclerc, not for Vettel. Same thing with Red Bull. The car is built for Max. That's why Max is in third all the time.
So the way we're talking about these young guys, and Russ, and going back to Russell, I think we need to see Russell in a race-winning car. We think that he can be at that level. Of course, but we have to see him there, because as with anything in any sport, we got to see it to believe it.
Exactly.
Do you think Bottas?
No.
Is that level?
No. He is. It's just that Hamilton is clean, man. Hamilton does not miss a beat.
So do you think that
that's where we keep saying that Bottas is not capitalizing when Ham gives him an opportunity or makes a mistake. Yeah. He does not capitalize. That's what Rosberg did. Every little speck of mistake Ham made, Rosberg took advantage of it. And that's why Rosberg was able to get a title. If Rosberg was not on... And Rosberg even said that after that, you look at him, he retired. He couldn't, because he knew, how can I do this again next year?
Yeah, and it wasn't... And he gave him he gave Hamilton competition for 3 years.
Of course.
Way more than Bottas would ever.
But remember, those 3 years prior to that, the Mercedes car was just so far ahead as well. Since the
yeah, but there was always a competition between at least those two.
Oh no, yeah. But what I'm saying is the Mercedes car was so far ahead,
just like it is this year.
Yeah, but it's not. I'm talking about these guys were far ahead before, bro.
Gotcha.
These guys were far ahead before. At the beginning of the hybrid era, these guys were far ahead, man.
I guess nothing's changed anymore, man.
No, I also
new regs for 2022, man.
I don't even think that's gonna even put that much of a dent on Mercedes, dude. If Mercedes stays in the sport, dude.
I think you're just talking as a fan at this point.
No, it's just...
But I see where you're coming
Show me otherwise. Yeah. My man, last year Ferrari had an illegal engine. Quote, whatever, secrecy, because it was everything sealed.
It's not illegal.
Okay. And it forced Mercedes to develop their engine even more to compete against an illegal engine. And they still beat that engine. Mind you, as well, like what you said about Bottas.
So
no, but also what we said about Bottas, Ham was able to capitalize in every mistake Ferrari made.
Yes. That's what said the difference. Lewis Hamilton is so consistent.
Yes.
He does not make mistakes.
But even that does not mean
mistakes, he still scores a boatload of points.
But does that mean that Bottas is a bad driver? He's just unfortunately stuck against the best of our generation when it comes to driving.
Yeah, but and then
not even Beto. That's has 4 titles.
But you also see, you saw it last week at Monza, where he had the perfect opportunity to gain so many points in the driver's standings,
and nowhere.
He was nowhere. He didn't take advantage of it.
That's where Rosberg shine. You give me a little peek of the front, I'm going. Come on, look at the beginning of the race. Oh, can I use the overtake button? Oh, we're not going to race each other. When did we say that? You don't ask that question, my man. You go take it. You want to win, you go take it.
Exactly.
How could you ask your pit wall, can I use the overtake button? My man, you're racing. Get in the front.
Speaking of somebody who will go after any opportunity that he's given, the honey badger, Danny Rick.
Look at that guy.
Man. So Danny Rick had one hell of a race. And the second restart, after after Stroll destroys.
But yeah, that's what you were gonna say earlier when the puff of smoke
Yeah.
shows up in front of Albon out of nowhere.
Well, let's go over that because this puff of smoke,
That's on lap 40.
46.
There you go.
Lap 46.
44.
Was it 44?
Yes.
Okay, 44. I think it was 44 because they went around the track 2 laps. All right, it was 44. Boom. Stroll goes off.
Similar to Fiat.
Yeah,
Remember?
and he's going off on this. I think it's Arriviato corner or something like. It was 1 and 2.
Is that a wine?
These are the fastest corners on the track.
Is that a wine? I don't know.
Can I get some cheese?
Yeah.
So Stroll goes off, and he has this monstrous crash. I mean,
Yeah.
it was pretty bad, to the point where they had to red flag the race again.
Watching the top 10 onboards on YouTube from F1, you see also the quickness that the pit wall wanted him out of the car.
Right.
So pretty much, hey, turn the car off, get out of the car. They're like, they're asking my you okay? Okay, so turn the car off, get out of the car.
Another car.
I like that meme that I saw as well. You know how when they were battling with the car to get it out, that they had a Mercedes shot.
Yes. The tracing point.
Yep.
The
Go ahead.
tracing point is back. So I'm not sure what happened there. It looked like he did get a puncture.
That's what he said, yeah. Got a
Yeah.
punch. They asked him, like, hey, what happened?
And I like watching the F1 TV post race show. Sam
Yes.
Collins, my boy Sam Collins.
Who's that?
Huh?
Who's that?
He's the one that,
In the studio
in the studio. Yeah.
with the lady.
Yeah, with the lady.
What's the lady's name?
With the, Rosanna.
I'm horrible with names, by the way.
Rosanna Tennant, I think.
Okay, I'm horrible with names, by the way. I know I've seen her a bunch of times on F1 stuff.
So he came up with a theory, and I don't know how true this is, but he's very good with the technical stuff.
So he's a Wellington,
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically.
which he's not here today, by the
He's
way.
not here today. He went back all the way back. Remember when Kvyat went off with a puncture? I think it was in Silverstone.
It wasn't able to him.
There was a puncture.
I think he went up in Beckett's.
on his rear tire
Yes.
that was traced back not to a Pirelli issue, but to the rim overheating
Oh, my God.
because of the brakes. Right? So the rim overheats, blows up the tire.
Wow.
It was the same kind of crash at Mugello with
Lance.
Stroll, right?
Whoa.
Okay? Brembo makes the brakes
Yes.
for AlphaTauri. Last week at Monza,
Is the Brembo makes it for everybody?
no, not for everybody because
Gotcha.
you get to choose your supplier, but just Brembo is one of the suppliers. Last week at Monza, Vettel's brakes were on fire
Yep.
to the point where
He lost
down
them. He lost the brakes.
he lost the brakes, where he piled into the polystyrene
All over the place.
all over the place because his brakes overheated and caught fire. Brembo makes those brakes
For Ferrari as well.
for Ferrari.
Who makes it for Renault?
Yes,
Brembo as well?
Brembo.
And that happened to Ocon as well, to Ocon.
Now we don't. He didn't know during that telecast because and you mentioned Renault because Ocon's brake caught on fire
Yeah, he was able
to the point where he couldn't even start at the second restart because his brakes
Yes.
were on fire because it burned everything around.
And that was Russell caught it first. Hey,
Yes, he's like you gotta go in, boy. So, the Racing Point, he didn't know. Sam Collins didn't know who made those brakes.
yeah, he didn't specify the brand.
He didn't know if it was Brembo that made those brakes for Racing Point. But guess who's the supplier for Mercedes?
Who?
Brembo. So if Mercedes,
And they're also having a lot of brake issues with
yeah,
the
so
brakes.
if Mercedes uses Brembo and the Racing Point uses the same braking ducts, because obviously we know this, with all
The same brake
with
ducts.
all the drama that's been going on with the Racing Point brake ducts. Could it be Brembo that makes the Racing Point brakes, and maybe they have a problem with the brakes?
It could be.
Maybe it was the same thing that happened to Danny Kvyat.
It could be a break. It could be an issue that's not being highlighted as much, and it constantly keeps happening because we saw. I think it was when was Hammond second place in the first restart, right?
Yeah.
We saw his brakes were on fire. Like
Yeah,
all four tires were smoking.
But yeah, dude, that was crazy because I thought his wheels were gonna blow up. But what he said was that one side of his brakes were not heating up correctly, so he overcompensated.
Same thing.
So he compensated so much that the brakes were literally on
All
fire.
four of them.
And luckily, the race started on time where it didn't break.
Yeah, but it didn't actually burst into fire.
Yeah, it didn't burn up his.
Because like for Ocon.
Obviously, he won the race, so it didn't affect him that much. So, yeah, we'll be on the lookout for that to see what.
That's something to be looking into more deeply to get to the bottom of what we can there.
Right. So at this point, we have
Another red flag because of Stroll
another
crash.
red flag because of Stroll. Danny Rick moves into third. So at this point,
But wait. Let's talk about my boy Bottas because obviously until this guy doesn't get this race after race, so I'm able to forget about it. We're gonna have to, bring it up. Bottas sleeping at the restart. At the restart, he was actually sleeping because he even got overtaken by Ricardo right at the restart.
I was gonna get to that.
Oh my man! No, but I wanted you to mention Bottas.
But no, we will listen because that's the whole point. I think this was the theme of the race is that Bottas was on the radio telling his team, "I want a different tire. I want to win this race. Give me a chance to win this race." He gets every single opportunity, and he still can't win the race.
Well, he didn't because he did not get a different tire. So from the get-go, they cut his tail
But
off.
at least they're giving him the opportunity. And you have, 3 different restarts. He did well on the first one.
On the first one, yes.
Yeah, on the first one he did well. But on the standing starts, he just botched it.
Yeah, the second restart, not the... obviously, we can't know the details of the safety car restarting, whatever, because obviously the big melee happened. But on the first red flag, he was leading, and that's when he got overtaken by Hamilton right away because of the tow that he created. And he was already on second place. So when we restarted again, he just pretty much shot behind Hamilton. He did not even try to get anywhere because he was just doing horrible that Ricardo overtook him.
Yeah, I mean, he started off...
Unlucky for him, he has the Mercedes car because with some of these mistakes that he made, if he doesn't have a package like the Mercedes package, he can overcome those issues.
Right.
Come on, Ricardo overtook him, and for like a lap, maybe like a half a lap, because when they came back to the start finish line or the main straight, he overtook Ricardo with no DRS.
That's insane. Yeah, but that's the Mercedes cars.
Yes,
and we talked about this before in previous episodes. That Mercedes car is just not engine. It's like the balance is good, the aero is good.
It's a complete package.
It's the car. It's the gold standard.
My man, the car is so packed to be a leading car that when the car is in traffic, it's horrible. It happened to Bottas in Monza.
Yeah.
He could not get up the pack. You do have the car to get up, so to get up to the front. So you better do it because Hamilton did it. Hamilton dropped down all the way to 7th from being 30 seconds behind in Monza. Mm-hmm. So when that aspect with Bottas, he could have gone to the front, but the car is so well packaged together as a being in the front car.
It's made to be in the front.
Yes.
It's made to run in clean air.
Yes, exactly.
It's made to run in clean air or very little cars in front.
Meaning the Mercedes team is so confident that they're going to be leading, they made the car to lead. Yes. They did not make the car to be following anybody. Like, this is our car. We're going to be in the front. We don't care.
Can somebody please beat them already, please?
Yeah, that's going to be tough.
So on that second restart, Ricardo comes out, guns blazing, overtakes Bottas.
With his elbows out.
Honey Badger.
Yep.
Honey Badger don't care. And we have Hamilton leading the race again. We have Ricardo in second. We have Bottas in third.
For like a lap.
And
I think by this time it's Albon fourth?
No, it was Perez.
Perez.
Fourth. And Albon again got off to a bad start. Imagine if this guy nails his restarts.
Come on, imagine
Because
this guy.
he got off to a bad start on all 3 standing starts that happened to this race.
Imagine if this guy gets 3 races, like perfect run races, that he qualifies well, he does a great race. I don't want you to win the race. I want you to finish right behind Max.
I'm going to get to that because I think that he will. But let's just go over what happens. So at this point, Ricardo's running second. We're getting happy. The tattoo parlors in Paris are sharpening their
They're all even
tattoo pens.
they're changing their opening time hours.
Yeah.
Because they know they're gonna get a melee of people just trying to do the same tattoo.
Ricardo's dying to get his
He was already-
get his champagne in his shoe.
No. Ricardo was already shaving the area where he was gonna put the tattoo.
Did you think that Ricardo was gonna keep that second place?
No. Not the third place, I mean, because obviously both of us overtook him right away.
Right.
No. I think Martin Brundle got that one right. Like, if you're gonna want to finish, fourth, it makes no sense on fighting with Albon for that position. Let him have it and stay healthy in fourth. Then try to defend for all this. Try to defend turn for so much that your tires are still gonna go. A much faster cars behind you. He's going to overtake you regardless. And then you're at the mercy of being probably overtaken by Paris.
Exactly. And that car was quick in this
Of
race.
course.
Yeah.
Remember,
The racing points seem to be better in flowy tracks, but are not long. They're not, and it's not like a Silverstone. It's because this place has a lot of turns, but they're not heavy braking zones.
So is that the problem? I'm going to even call it tracing point at this time.
Mm-hmm.
That tracing point has. Because it's a copy of the Mercedes. Mercedes is built to lead, clean air. Is that why they haven't been able, I guess, to land a solid race package? Because Monza was, obviously Monza was just another race on a different level kind of stuff,
Here's what is.
But you understand my point, right?
Yeah, I get you. But that goes on. That's actually going on great to my next point. It's a great segue because what Racing Point is doing right now is understanding the car.
Yes.
Right? Because remember what they did. They completely changed the fundamental, how that car works fundamentally. They went from a high rig to a low rig to a model that the only team on the grid that runs that model car, that kind of car, is Mercedes.
Yeah.
But, and I heard this the other day, which is a very good point, Mercedes also have the resources, the manpower to develop that car at a higher rate.
Quicker, I mean.
Quicker,
Gotcha.
right. So they have more people that they can put on a certain area where they can be like, this works, this doesn't work.
Wow, man.
Racing Point doesn't have that.
At this point.
But you saw the upgrades. The Racing Point brought a set of upgrades, but it was only enough for one car. They put it on Stroll's car.
At the speed that it was developed.
Yeah, and you saw that they said it was like 2 or 3 tenths quicker. They're supposed to make the car 2 or 3 tenths quicker, and that's more or less the gap that you saw them two running.
And the upgrades was to make it even closer look to this year Mercedes.
It looks exactly because they brought a new front wing, they brought a new floor, but the one that
and they also engine cover things.
that was my point. That was where I'm getting at. The one that looks mostly like this year's Mercedes
is the engine cover.
Was that engine cover? How tightly wrapped it is, where that engine go in.
Honestly, believe it or not, Yhancy, I'm a Mercedes fan, but I've never paid attention how tight to the actual car itself that engine cover looks until I started seeing the videos about Racing Point bringing another part that looks very similar to this year Mercedes.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about
I think I saw the same video. Was the front brake ducts?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's to the point Mercedes has that car developed to the point that it's like a skin. Obviously, the body panel is obviously a skin, but it's a skin perfectly molded to the actual every little itty bitty turns of the car, but they made those little curves to actually flow to help them.
The air flow to the back of the car to make that diffuser work better.
Yes, it's incredible.
It's incredible. If you understand even just a little bit, it's mind blowing.
So me, that I'm like I said earlier, I'm a big F1 fan from a long time ago. It's just this Mercedes era is not going to end now. Just like any eras before them took a long time to come down.
Yeah. Well, the Ferraris.
Exactly, the Ferrari era. And it was because they had the driver.
And then you had Vettel also with Red Bull.
Exactly. But same thing. They had the driver. They had the edge on the development. And they made them untouchable throughout those years.
And then you also have a great team as far as engineers
Exactly. So
and things like that behind them.
I would like for the Mercedes era to keep going past the new regs, but it normally a new team always comes up in the new regulations. Always happened to Red Bull. Now happened to Mercedes in the hybrid era came on. Even though we're still going to be going with hybrid engines, but there's new regulations where a lot of times the team that best develops the new regulations is the one that leads.
And we'll see what happens. That's why we can't. We're dying to see what happens in 2022.
Wow, we're talking 2022 like it's tomorrow.
I know it was supposed to be next year.
Yeah.
Damn it, Kobe. Damn it. All right, so obviously Ricardo couldn't keep that place. He falls back.
But Albon,
meanwhile,
with the Raging
this
Bull.
is happening.
But wait. Albon with the Raging Bull.
Albon grows his horns and he's plowing through the field. And this is what I like about Albon. Albon, there's a lot of holes in his racecraft. Obviously,
but he's young.
And we forget that this is his first full year at Red Bull in a car that's difficult to drive, that's built for Max Verstappen.
But also, we have to remember that he's not. I'm not gonna even mention AlphaTauri because they're doing phenomenal this year too.
Right.
But he's not on a Williams team that they'll be willing to give you more time because they know they don't have the total package for you to be in the front, so they're not going to demand from you.
He's in the hot seat right away.
Exactly. When you go to the top team of Red Bull, not the sister team, which is AlphaTauri, they're going to demand for you to perform right away. Mm-hmm. So every race that you don't perform, everybody's looking at you sideways.
Right. Yeah, you're right. It's true, but that's exactly what's happening to him. So,
which is what happened to Gasly. They didn't let him settle the seat.
I think one of the things that I've seen that I think he's great at is that he's a very good overtaker, and he
does it clean.
Yeah, he does it clean. It's not sloppy. It's not unfair. It's not like he pushes you out. He takes these like that overtake on the outside line on Ricardo.
On
both of them. That was insane, and that goes back to it helps him because it has that little camera, so he can take that outside line.
Yeah, because it's like if you look at the quick video of it, it looks like he launched to take it, but it's actually not a launch because of the little bank that he has. It looks like a launch more towards the end of the lap of the turn that he's already pretty much in front, and he has to just pretty much position the car so he don't go off the track.
I mean, I know you don't watch much IndyCar. It's almost like when you see IndyCar in the oval race. But obviously not as it's because a steep incline.
The reason why I don't watch IndyCar that much, one, I have to really get into it, and two, come on, I just finished watching an F1 race, which is the sport that I like.
Oh yeah, I mean,
and then what? If I take more time out of Sundays, probably my wife will kill me.
Yeah. Listen, I had a great weekend because we had 2 IndyCars races this weekend.
Yes,
we had one on Saturday. I saw that one, and obviously the crown jewel, the F1 race at Mugello. Which obviously is the one that I get the most hyped up for, and then right after that we had the second IndyCar race. So it was a good motorsports packed weekend for me.
Yeah,
which was very cool, and I needed the rest because it
was a great competition for football.
Yeah,
because football started this weekend. So
exactly,
American football.
So getting back to Ricardo before we get too far off
track.
Topic. I mean, not Ricardo, but off Albon. I mean, getting back to Albon. Albon pulled it off. He finally got that overtake to get his first podium.
Yes. Unscattered or untouched.
We know that a racing driver who has confidence can achieve so many more things that he could ever think that he could achieve. What do you think this does for the confidence of Alex Albon? What happens now?
I think this joy and this new high that he got, for getting the podium, might be the small push that he needs onto trusting the car more, onto pushing more. He saw a different joy. Come on, this is not a top 10 finish. Obviously you didn't finish in first place, but you did a podium. A lot of drivers that come to F1 never get a podium. So, or they just get one. Obviously, you got your first one, so now you're good. Right. But you're on the top team. This is supposed to be repetitive. They're expecting that from you. So this might help you, one, make you overconfident and then start crashing everybody. Or 2, really trust the car, really settle in. I do a pastor, yeah. Or really help you settle into the seat for you to be more confident, and because you got a taste of the front. So now it's going to be tough to take that taste out of your mouth when you are on a top team car. So it's his impulse not to take. To me, he should just take it and go back all the way to Singapore with it if you want. You know? That's how quick I want you to fly with it and how far I want you to fly with it. But it's up to him to make the most out of this, and I hope he does do it. Because he's a young driver. He's been close to getting 2 podiums, you know? And unfortunately, he's been crashed out by Ham.
Yeah, twice.
Twice.
And he could have won one of those races.
You think so?
He could have won, yeah, because
Brazil?
No, not Brazil. Early in the season, Austria.
Austria,
Yeah, he could have won that race.
Yeah?
He could have won that race. Yeah, because he had the pace.
Bro,
to get ahead of
that was earlier in the season.
Early in the season.
To me, that's been already. That's so long ago.
So long ago.
Yeah, because all these races we keep getting.
I'm gonna say it will give him confidence. I think it's gonna make him a better driver. I've been high on Albon since last year. Why? Because he showed something that is very important in an F1 driver.
And that is?
Balls. He has the balls to overtake. He has the balls to make the move.
And he does it clean. I like that he does it clean.
It's something.
Leclerc is like that too.
Yes, but it's something that we don't see from Bottas in particular, and we don't see in other drivers. He has that. He just has to get more of his stuff together. One, he needed the confidence. This podium is going to give him the confidence because everyone was piling on him how far behind he is from Max.
Of course.
And, you know, and obviously...
That's been the focal point.
You know, and you're going up against your teammate, but you're going up against a once-in-a-lifetime talent in Max Verstappen. I mean, if you give Max Verstappen a Mercedes, that Bottas has, you're going to see a fight to Abu Dhabi.
Him and Hamilton will be killing each other right now.
Yeah, it'll be nuts.
I'm talking about they would not race with race gloves. They would race with boxing gloves or something. Because
exactly. It'll be
you did not beat me at the last turn. I beat you, and if you don't believe me, we're going to fight for it now.
Exactly. So, but it will give him that confidence. I'm not gonna go as far as he's just as good as Max Verstappen, but I think he's a solid driver. I think he's a very good number 2 driver, and I think if Red Bull, and at this point they'll stick with him. He said it on the radio, thanks for sticking with me. They give him a year to develop. I think he's going to be a solid driver next year. And he's going to be the driver, the number 2 driver that Max needs behind him to pick up points when Max is not there.
Think so?
Absolutely.
That's a lot of confidence.
Absolutely.
Wow, yes.
He's a really... I like what I see.
I hope so.
I like what I see. He has a lot to learn. He has to be better in qualifying. He has to get better at the restarts. And he has to work more. I mean, I wouldn't say more on his patience, man. I think he just has to work more on his racecraft. But if he does that, he'll be better, man. He's been a solid. I think he's been a solid driver. It's just the circle. You're in Red Bull, man.
Yeah,
I think it's a tough team.
I think as because it has been shown that the team has not put him in the right positions a lot of times is the reason why he's still at Red Bull.
Right.
So because of that, now because of this podium and the way he qualified in this one and stuff like that, is what's showing on both ends that we could trust each other. So, hey, we're going to give you the tools for you to be better. We just need you to settle down in that seat and do better.
Right. Exactly.
We have it here for you, my friend. Come on, just do it. I give it to you. Yeah. That's pretty much what's in up with Albon. And there's nowhere else to go but higher.
So the race ends. Lewis Hamilton wins. Bottas second. Normal podium. But we do have a Red Bull on podium, but it's not Max Verstappen.
Finally.
It's Alex Albon. Overall, what did you think of the race? Did you really think... Listen, we were sitting here, we're talking about it. We're getting excited. I know we're F1 fans. Did you like this race?
Yes, I did. I'm not going to say I loved the race, but it was a very entertaining race because of the crash. You know, it offered a little bit of everything. It showed clean overtakes. It showed hustling overtakes. It showed cars that you were not expecting to be as fast. Even though the Renault car for the last couple of races has been going up.
Right.
So he showed a car, that if they give him a couple of more little tweaks within those tools, he might be for the next couple of races still fight, even though he's gone next year. But it's showing hope of what's going to come into Alonso. Because even though Rick and Alonso are two different drivers, but Ricardo has a lot of things that Alonso has.
Aggressiveness.
Exactly. Aggressive, and he's able to push the car, like get power out of the car, get position out of whatever car you're given. Obviously, Alonso's on a different level.
Right.
But so the race gave us a little bit of everything on that when it comes to all of that. And that's why I say I like the race, because we got a little bit of everything. But overall, it was not the greatest race in the world.
No, I agree with you in that aspect, but I thought it was great. I thought it was an entertaining race. This is what, we tune into F1 racing not expecting what is going to happen.
Will you say this race to you was a better race than Monza?
Yes.
Okay.
I think so. Why? Because
I don't agree on that. I think Monza was more entertaining than this one.
No, because
because of the results.
No, it's not. The results were great.
Exactly.
So it's a total because at least we have.
So we do understand that Monza was just a total different race than this one.
It's completely different.
So that's where I always said, that's why I always said at the beginning that I'm an F1 fan at first. So whatever kind of race you give me, I'm going to watch.
Right.
Because obviously F1 is the only
than others.
F1 is the only sport that I follow. I don't follow baseball. I don't follow basketball. Excuse me. Right. So the only sport that I actually follow through and do more homework, even though we're part of the podcast, whatever. But it is F1, and I've been doing it for a long time. What I like is that technology has made it for an oldie fan like me that lives in the U.S. Technology has made it so much accessible.
Yeah, it's been definitely more accessible than it has before.
Before we would get like on Speed Channel here,
and I think also Liberty,
of course,
with the social media and all of that stuff.
Yeah, something like with technology as a whole. Not even talking about the social media, because obviously the ending years of Ecclestone is where everything grew. Instagram, all of this, WhatsApp, all of this stuff. So
and they needed a new steward, which was Liberty.
Liberty Media is maximizing it to the top. They're not there yet. Even if it was shown in this race as well, with the freaking TV directors going to action is happening and they go into freaking replays. Like, I'm about to write a letter to F1 that, hey, unless this race directors get to the point of let me watch the race, I want a refund on my freaking subscription. Right. Because I pay for that. Like I said earlier, it's not a stolen signal.
Here's the thing about this race, why I liked it better than Monza. I like to watch races where at the end there's a bit of tension to see who's going to finish.
Yes.
In Monza,
it was already settled.
It was already settled pretty much a few laps before. Yeah. I mean, it was great to see Gasly win, and
we're not. We're not focusing on drivers right now. We're focusing on the actual race itself.
But sprinkled throughout this race, where we saw Albon and Ricciardo overtaking cars, we were just trying to wonder who's going to get that third position. Because the race really wasn't who was going to win the race.
Yeah, we already knew that.
We wanted to see who was going to get
third place. And we wanted both of these guys to be in third. Like, I wanted Ricciardo for the tattoo.
We obviously wouldn't care if Stroll got third, but it would have been nice. But he already got third at Monza, right?
Stroll sucks.
But we definitely wanted to see Albon get a podium. We definitely want to see Ricciardo get a podium. I personally want to see Albon get a podium more than Ricciardo, because Ricciardo is already a race winner. He's gotten plenty of podiums. I think he has like 22 podiums already. So you want that underdog, you don't want that under. But throughout this race, around the Destruction Derby and the Monster Truck Rally and all these moments that happen, you get that tension of, is he going to be able to pass him? Does he have enough tires? Does he have this? And that tension is what I like. You got a lot of that. You had a lot of that this race, and you got a lot of that. It's
pretty much what we like so much about the midfield.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's what's happening in the midfield. What is it? F1 1.2 or 1.0?
1.5.
1.5.
So, and obviously we're such big fans that even if we do get a boring race where it's a parade, we still get in. We know enough to look at the strategy and tire strategy and stuff. But I don't want to go into that, man. I just want to see these cars racing and who's going to overtake and all of that stuff. I don't want to have to just resort to last ditch effort to enjoy a race, even though I enjoy it all.
I got you.
You know, but this was a good race. It wasn't, all-time classic. It will be memorable.
It will be memorable.
Why? Because it was at Mugello. It was the first time we raced at Mugello.
I know the melee.
That crash was incredible.
When's the last time we had 2 red flags in one race? I don't remember.
I don't remember. It had to be like a rain out race or something.
It probably one of those Japan
not even
races.
Baku, which was the first crazy race that I saw, Baku 2017. That race was nuts.
Yeah, it's probably one of those rain Japanese races and something like that.
Yeah.
That probably got 2 red flags. But I'll do my homework for the next podcast, and I will say it.
I'll hold you to that.
Yeah. I will say it for the next episode to point that out.
Last question on Mugello. Do you think they should make a permanent place for it on the calendar?
Of course.
I liked it.
Why not? We need flowy tracks like that, and we need. You know what it is? I think we cannot judge Mugello that well because of the melee that happened.
Right.
I think we can only judge it when we get a clean race, because it is a nice sweep track, and you're probably not gonna say that it's that challenging to the drivers, but every track is challenging to these drivers. So especially with that point that you made earlier, that the first turn has a small bank.
Right, and it's really the only overtaking opportunity that you have on the entire track. Because you're coming off that long straight.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. But what I'm saying is because there's never going to be a perfect track. I always say this. Mm-hmm. People are going to judge track differently. And the weight, how big these cars are, the downforce these cars carry, and the speed, where do you want it to overturn?
Yeah.
They can't follow each other that well because then it messes up the whole car. So it's a tough situation that technology has put the cars in.
Yeah, the cars are bigger. They're too wide.
No, when I say technology, it's because remember the aerodynamics is part of technology.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So aerodynamics
but
makes.
that's what I mean. It's wider. Physically, it's hard to fit the 2 cars side by side on the track. But also, just what you're saying with the aerodynamically, the wash behind the car, the dirty air, just doesn't allow these cars to follow.
Exactly.
It would be interesting.
With the new regs, that's probably going to change as well.
I would love the track to come back. I love the scenery.
Yes.
I love watching those cars go around those corners. I love long flowy tracks. Those are my favorite. That's why I love Silverstone so much.
We also can't forget that F1 is a European sport. Even though it's been taken worldwide.
Yeah.
Remember, it was mostly in Europe before.
Yes.
So that's why we have so many races in Europe, because of obviously COVID restrictions and stuff like that. It's able to play it better. Every country they go, they have different restrictions because of COVID. So these tracks that are at their backyard, they're only a drive to. Monaco, was the one in the other one in France, right by Monaco? Come on, man.
Paul Ricard.
Yeah. Then you got Monza, even though Monza's all the way in Italy, but from Monaco it's a couple hour drive, mind you, because I say a couple of hours, but the plane ride is right there.
Yeah, you're right. It's literally.
So that's the reason why they're doing all these flowy tracks. Would I like to see Mugello stay? Why not? If they already have the certification,
I would love to see it. And we'll see how everything plays out for 2022. But if they say that the regs for 2022 will bring those cars closer together, I think Mugello will be an awesome track.
It'll be a nice track to watch, of course.
Absolutely, and it'll be great for us to watch.
So it's like showing you that as well. COVID, obviously, unfortunately, is a big, worldwide disease that's happening, whatever. But look at the opportunities that's shown for all the areas that have capabilities to hold an F1 race, but it's because obviously maybe for funding or whatever it is, F1 races are not being held there. So look, we're going to Portugal. We did, Imola, so
we're going to Imola again. Imola, which has
we're coming back to Italy.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a third race in Italy. These are tracks in Italy.
Yeah.
We only have one race in Italy on the normal calendar.
Yeah, and
so look, this is our third race in Italy.
It's awesome.
It's just
this. This year's been basically for F1's fan. It's been a blessing and a curse. Curse because it started so late, but and obviously, it's great because we have so many races back to back to back to back. But on top of that, we also have new tracks that many people haven't seen, and we can see these cars go around.
You remember when I think we had a year, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, we had 2 weekends that it was 3 races. And F1 said they would never go back to that. I think this past 3 races was the third time?
The third time, and they're going to do it again.
And they're going to do it again at the end.
Yeah.
No, but obviously they're being squeezed, and I understand that. But it's shown also that logistically, if you want to do it, it can be done.
Yeah, they can do it if they weren't jumping around. If they can do it if they can stay in one country.
Like Europe. Yeah, the way it's been doing now, the way it's been done.
So
it's surprising to me that they're doing it just by moving the paddock. I thought, they will bring one of the paddocks that they have, around the world, because they have one for the Americas, they have one for Asia, and they have one for Europe.
Right.
So I thought maybe they'll bring one of the Asian ones, that's closest to them, whichever one they could bring around, so they could use.
That they haven't put all the Asian races together, all the European race. They do that, but in a sense. But for example, you have.
They jump back and forth.
Yeah, they go to Canada, then they come back to Monaco. And then later on in the year, in October, they come back.
That's when they do the 3.
Yeah, and then they go to China at the beginning of the year. And then at the end of the year, they come back to Singapore, and they went to Malaysia when Malaysia was on the calendar. It's just weird that they don't put it all together so you can...
we're saying...
But I think it's also the contracts that they have with the tracks.
And also, do you think in 2 weeks they could go from... I don't have a calendar in front of me. A map in front of me. They could go from China to Singapore. It's not that far. So they could do it in 2 weeks.
Exactly.
Yeah, so they could turn it around. It won't be able to do it the way they do here in Brazil, Mexico. Sometimes they do, back to back, or the U.S., Mexico, or Mexico, Brazil. They do it back to back. That's a little tougher to do.
Right.
But it could be done.
Yeah. So next race we have. What's the next race, Ruben?
Next race is Sochi. That's in 2 weeks. But we'll talk about another episode. We'll review it.
We'll review it.
You got anything for the news?
You can see, yeah, I got a few things that I want to touch on the news, but so Sochi, damn it, you killed it. I'm as you can tell, I'm not a big fan of Sochi, but we'll be talking about that in the next week. We'll give a proper
preview. I'm sorry, preview. My bad.
Things to come. A few things on the just 2 things to touch on. Well, 3 things actually. First off, if you saw the podium at Mugello, you saw that Lewis Hamilton made a point to wear a Breonna Taylor T-shirt, which has been obviously a big issue here in the States that we know very well about. It basically read, "Arrest the cops who killed Breonna Taylor." Today's Tuesday after the race. There's news that the state of Kentucky actually settled with that family for I don't know how many.
What?
Yeah, for like 12.
That's how much I watch news.
But obviously we don't want to get too far into that. But because of that action, the FIA is investigating Lewis Hamilton and possibly looking to fine him because on the statute that they don't want drivers making political statements. I don't think that it's a political statement. What do you think, Ruben, about it?
2 points to make on that. What is a political statement? Because where I come from, political statements say, hey, go Trump or go, Prince Charles or whoever you want to root for, Right. That's to me a political statement.
Yes.
This is something calling for justice.
Exactly.
Is that going to be involved in politics? Maybe, maybe not. But that's not my thing to decide.
It shouldn't be, though.
It should not be that to that level. It should be justice is justice. Justice is blind.
Right.
So, but that's,
I think you and me are on the same page on that one. This is not a political statement. This is a human rights issue.
And he just wants to bring awareness
exactly
to it.
Yeah.
So that was my first point. So my second point is he did get to the actual podium with the shirt on. Mm-hmm. But somebody brought it to our attention because he took the shirt off before the champagne came out.
Oh, really?
Yes. If you go back...
maybe he didn't want to get it wet or something with champagne?
That's what I thought when he took it off.
Yeah.
When he took it off, I thought right away that, hey, he doesn't want to mess up the shirt, or he doesn't want to get it wet, or he doesn't want to be part of this celebration.
That he waited a long time to get that shirt. just to get the shirt and
the shirt itself.
Yeah. So,
Okay, so maybe he did not want to tarnish the shirt.
Yeah.
But he did take it off at the podium celebration.
Yes.
When he got to the podium to start celebrating, he took it off. Now, what do you call the podium now? Because remember, before the race was over, the drivers will get weighed, go to a room, which is like a small driver's debrief. They'll come out to the podium, they'll do the champagne toast and all that stuff, and then they'll get interviewed.
Right.
Now they're getting interviewed before all of that, before they even get to the back room, they just give them like a couple of minutes to dry off the sweat or whatever, and then right away to
They
question.
don't even go in the back room. It's right there.
Exactly.
Where they park the car.
Obviously because of COVID now. And now they get interviewed outside there. Before they will get interviewed after the champagne. Was it after the champagne thing? Or before? So that I have to.
No, it was before.
It was before, but
No, it was after.
It was after. It was after the champagne celebration because that's what they will toast with the person and everything, with the shoey.
Yeah,
exactly.
it was after.
So, Formula One is a weird sport when it comes to their regulations and their formalities. We're going back to the Schumacher Rubens Barrichello issue when. Ruben Barrichello let Schumacher pass. The whole crowd disagreed. Even Ferrari fans that were there disagreed.
Yeah. I remember.
So
I remember seeing the highlights.
Even Schumacher himself felt bad and gave Barrichello, not gave it to him because obviously that was not his podium to take, but put Barrichello at the number one. Ferrari got fined. I don't know if it was Schumacher who got fined, but there was a fine involved. So they're very cautious on how their podium is shown to the world, presented to the world. Again, Lewis Hamilton was not wearing the shirt at the celebration. He was wearing the shirt at the interview, yes. So is the interview part of the podium? That was not up there where it says 1, 2, and 3. He was next to the car after he, drove his sweat or whatever he has. So the celebration podium, actual celebration is not happening yet. So what is there to investigate?
I have two things on this.
Another one.
Oh, no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Another one. I also thought maybe he took it off. One, not to dirty the shirt. And two, hey, wait a minute. I know I want attention for this issue, but underneath this shirt, it's the people that pay my bills. I got to show these people to the world.
Yeah,
so I also took it to that point that he took off the shirt to show his sponsors.
Yeah, that makes sense. But he's playing all the cards there.
Exactly.
So I have two things on this. One, I already touched upon. This is not a political statement. These are social
awareness.
This is a human rights issue.
Yes.
We're, at the end of the day, what we're aiming for is to take care of each other and look out for one another as human beings, regardless of color, creed, sexuality, or anything. That's
as human beings first.
That's first. So that should never be political.
Yes.
That's human rights. Two.
Which the world as a whole is supposed to be very involved in.
Exactly.
They're supposed to be very involved.
And why you see, obviously these protests started here in the States, and we're in the epicenter of all of this stuff here. Obviously we live in New York City, so
we see it more.
We see it a lot.
Even though here in New York City, the racial tension is not as high as other cities or other states.
Because it seems like,
it's like I said, this is just going totally off complicated from F1 itself.
Trust me, you still have it here. Don't. If anybody who's not from New York doesn't know that, it's still it exists here, and this is why you have these protests going on, and why we speak upon it, why Lewis Hamilton is speaking upon it. Number two, if F1 gives these drivers a platform before the race,
yes.
They have on the cars and racism.
In every car.
They give the drivers the opportunity to kneel if they want to before the national anthem. And bring awareness. They even have a big and racism banner and we race as one.
We race as one.
Why would the FIA now have a problem with a driver wearing a t-shirt during an interview? Or even while the flag is being raised, because he took it off afterwards, I think it was. Was it? Because I think I saw him on the podium with that shirt.
That's what I'm saying. I think
he took it off right before the champagne.
Yes, he had it during the national anthem. That was the one national anthem, the one that they sing. The drivers, where the drivers from, right? So he had it on during the British or Britain's national anthem.
The British,
He had it on during all of that. It was before the champagne started to pop that that he took it off.
So What do I think? What do you think is going to happen? Do you think they're going to find him?
It's gonna look very bad on the FIA if they do get a
That's
fine.
why I
over
don't
that.
think they'll find him. Because it's going to look bad on them.
On everybody.
It's a double standard. If you let them do it before the race or after,
Exactly.
it doesn't make any difference.
And that's pretty much that.
And honestly, it'll look bad on your organization because now you're taking a stance where...
Listen, this will look so much better if you just tell the driver, hey, okay, fine, you did it, but please respect our podium procedures.
Right.
And let's just maintain the uniform.
The decorum.
Exactly.
Right.
Instead of pulling this guy for investigation, letting it be news that it does not come as at any kind of good light towards the FIA that they've been doing a lot of wrong crap lately. So that's my stance on the end of that.
The second, I said there was 3 pieces. The second bit of news, and we'll go over this quickly, was I read that Racing Point is rushing. Racing Point brought updates to their car.
For Stroll's car,
For just for one car to test them out here in Mugello. It seemed like it worked because they had a
difference in time.
A difference in time. That's why Checo Perez was, and we all think that Checo Perez is a better driver than Stroll.
We do.
Obviously. But that's why he was running.
But his dad doesn't own the team.
Well, there you go. And he's not going to be there next year at this point. So why, you give
Why bring him here?
updates to the driver?
Why put resources into him?
Yeah. But obviously, Stroll crashed out, destroyed these parts. So now they're in a mad rush to produce these parts for both cars for Sochi. The timeline is tight. They don't know if they will make it on time. Hopefully they will. But just
Meaning to have two identical cars.
two identical cars.
Or they're probably going to have to run the same way again.
Right. And then Sochi, it looks like it's important for them because obviously they have a fast car. They're not very good on these tracks which are long. They're fast enough, but maybe those upgrades will help them out. So we'll see what happens. I just wanted to touch upon that real quick. The last one, your team, your Mercedes team. There seems to be rumors that there's a buyout for them. That Ineos, that new sponsor that they got,
The big sponsor.
the big sponsor that they got with their name on the car, on the
Right about the intake.
right above the intake and on the wings, that little splash of red on the Mercedes.
I always thought it was for Niki Lauda, but it's nice for these people's logo.
Splash of red. No, Niki Lauda's a little star.
The little star, the red star, yeah.
Ineos is in talks to buy Mercedes AMG. There's not a lot of information on this, but this is...
We will have a ton of info on this for our next
what
episode.
I always say, where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yep. No, you've always been right on those things. when you throw it out, very certain. Right now, you're setting us a rule.
What are your first impressions on that?
I hope not.
Yeah, that's... I hope so.
Who the hell is Ineos? First of all,
I don't know.
That's why I said we have to just dig into
we
this.
need to do our homework.
Exactly.
At this
Yep.
point, and we'll see if we get more information on that.
But he's out there. The rumor started to start. It's starting to cook. It's not
Yes.
simmering yet.
Yeah,
it's starting to.
Yes. They have the oil. They already have they have the pot set up. The fire's on. The oil is heating up. They haven't started putting the ingredients yet.
Yes.
We'll see what happens there. So Ruben, we both thought this race was entertaining. We're off to Sochi, which is traditionally not a very entertaining race. But we'll see what happens because F1 always tends to give us things that we don't expect. We didn't expect a race like this in Mugello, and we got a good one. Hopefully, Sochi will give us a good one.
When was the last time Sochi was exciting?
I don't know, man, but I'm holding. You know what? Hope, man. You gotta have hope. We gotta have hope.
Well, we definitely need the ratings. So that if they bring out an entertaining race, it will be, to follow.
There's gonna be fans there as well. So
there will be fans there.
yeah, there will be fans. So next week we'll have a preview of the Sochi race, and we'll go over any of the news that comes out.
Especially this one, the Ineos.
Yeah, the Ineos news, and just guys, stay tuned. Remember, guys, to follow us on social media at Jump to Start F1 on Instagram and Twitter, and listen to us
In every platform.
on every platform. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, TuneIn, iHeart Radio. I will say it again: Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, TuneIn, iHeart Radio. This was awesome, man.
I am going to practice my breathing so I could say all of that the same way you and Wellington say it. There you go. Exactly.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, guys.